Xiao's plan is more thorough and more measured. You can tell he's meticulous in his work, very detail-oriented. But he and Shenwei are otherwise polar opposites. Minghua is not very articulate and comes across as very timid in conversation.
Perfect summary! Paimon couldn't agree more! You're good at this, Yuan.
Last but not least, Zhi. His manifesto is full of pertinent details, his methodology is sound, and his proposals cover a broad range of fields, which is quite a rare feat. The depth he goes into...
How long is this quest, by the way, chat?
Welcome!
2 to 3 hours?
This jade chamber design is our newest. It's been selling like crazy over the past 2 days.
They mean all 4? Oh, thank God. Genshin players when it's time to play the game?
Oh, yes.
I am playing the game without even touching my mouse or keyboard! This is not playing the game!
Wonderful. I'll pack them up.
What's the gameplay?
For you.
Banger gameplay mashes spacebar.
Places like during Lantern Ride.
What about visual novel games though? Oh! Oh, okay, so this is a visual novel. So surely I will be presented with dialogue options where my choices matter and affect the outcomes of things then, right?
So our available workforce has seen a dramatic decrease.
Oh wait. Can you recommend the best artifact set for the Xiao Faruzan Furina Xianyun team? I'm really confused about a lot of choices. So, the set that will give you the most value is Maréchaussée. However, because Xiao ascends with crit, because a lot of his weapon options have crit rate, because Xianyun gives crit, and because Maréchaussée gives crit, it's very, very possible that if you are on Maréchaussée, you'll overcap on crit. And when that's happening, when you're overcapping on crit, then Maréchaussée is not the best set anymore, right? Because the whole thing that your set gives you is crit rate, and if you don't need that crit rate and you're already at 90% without it, then you're effectively only gaining 10% crit rate instead of 36. Because of that, if you don't have a Maréchaussée set that is like basically just crit damage, attack percent, and ER, your next best option is going to be Vermilion, and then 2-piece, 2-piece. You can also, actually that's not even true. You can also use the Wanderer set, right? What is it called? What's the Wanderer set called? Desert Pavilion Chronicle, right. You can also use that. You do have to remember to use a charge attack, but it's also a pretty good option. Do you think Nahida or Xianyun is better? I want Plunge, Kandaka, but is it worth it to pull Nahida instead? In my opinion, I think it depends on both, like, what you care about and how strong your account is, right? If you really care about, you know, completing the harder content in Genshin, then you're probably better off not playing Plunge Kanaka, because it's not going to be very good. But if that's something that's secondary to you, then you should just go for what you think you'll have the most fun with. And if you do care, well, there's also the possibility that you're already clearing without a problem, and if that's the case, then yeah, just go for what you want. Is a new Navia 4-piece artifact set great for Ning, or is it just a niche build? So, let me just read it again to double check. My brain has, like, not reserved space for that, for the information on Ningguang's optimal builds, because in my brain, playing Ningguang is suboptimal to begin with. So I'm gonna have to double check. What's the trigger condition again? After using elemental skill while under... Okay. So unlike Navia, Ning doesn't have a way of easily stacking this. Right? The stuff from the crystallized, but also 20% geo damage bonus is better than what a 2-piece gives you, right? So it's always fine. It's not as good on her as it is on Navia because she's generally not going to be able to get as much uptime on this as Navia is. But it should still be her better set unless you're playing with Furina, in which case her best set might just be Maréchaussée. The question really is it worth the resin investment to farm for this? And I mean, if you really love Ning, then sure, I guess. Otherwise, it's not the greatest domain to farm. But the other set isn't bad, right? It's useful on specific healers, so like it's not terrible. It's not like farming a Vermilion, basically. I need advice. I like Ganyu and have 2.5k attacks, SC1 200. Can I use Ganyu, Nahida, Bennett, Sucrose? I don't have Kazuha. Is this team good? It'll work. Personally, I've never been a big fan of Burn Melt Ganyu. I've never been a big fan of Melt Ganyu in general. But Burn Melt Ganyu, maybe even more so. Because I've felt that it was a lot harder to justify defensive options, and I'm not a huge fan of playing Melt Ganyu if you're not using some form of shielding or resistance to interruption. It's definitely still playable, but you're gonna have to deal with the cringe of playing Melt Ganyu without a shield. If that's something you're okay with, then it'll be fine, but I would not want to have to deal with it. Any strategies you recommend to not go insane with despair farming / upgrading artifacts? I never get closer to quitting than when I have to spend loads of time cleaning out trash artifacts and get nothing of value in return. Honestly, the reality is that there's really not much you can do. The best way that you can make sure you don't go insane is... well, don't do that. Like... once you get high enough investment, getting improvements on your artifacts is going to take you weeks, if not months. And that just isn't gonna feel good. So your options from there are either start building more characters or start working on getting better artifacts. Or getting enough good artifacts that you don't have to share artifacts between your characters. That's just the reality of it. I have mid as hell artifacts and it still takes weeks. The thing is, again, right? You're saying you have mid artifacts. They're probably mid compared to other people who play the game every day and who've been playing for fucking 3 years, right? Like... just because your artifacts are average doesn't mean they're not good. But yeah, it is what it is. Maybe we'll also see so many 50 CV artifacts on Twitter or from streamers and feel like there's their shit when 25 CV with good other subs is good. Yeah, like, I don't have a single 50 CV artifact. I have never obtained a 50 CV artifact. I don't have one. The closest I have is like a 49 CV one. And it doesn't even have... it doesn't even have other good subs, right? It doesn't... it has defense and HP. That's not even that great. Like, it's good, but I'd trade a crit roll for an attack and an EM roll, right? Like, the best artifact I have on my account is this shit. And it doesn't look like anything. No, but I can really understand the frustration. Right now in Star Rail, right? I am in a similar boat where I need good quantum artifacts. Or I need a good artifact set for one of my characters, and it is just not coming to me. I've gotten the right main stats for one of the pieces once and it didn't have a single useful substat, right? And I've been in the domain for like 3 or 4 weeks now. Right? It just is what it is, right? Sometimes you're just gonna get a little fucked by RNG, and on average, you're gonna get fucked by RNG, because sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. And you generally will end up building characters more than once, so streaks of bad luck are just gonna happen. And there's not much you can do about it other than honestly just do something else to try to not think about it. It is what it is. I will say though, this Abyss is cringe. Like, if you're struggling to 36 star this Abyss, it could just be because your teams aren't strong enough. You need a really good single target side for the Wenut. Or like a really well invested team that you play very well. But if you're like brain off playing against the Wenut, you need a really good single target team. You can do it with teams that aren't the greatest in single target, but it's going to be a lot harder. But like, this has been one of the easiest abysses for a long time. So the thing is, Chamber 3 is a joke, right? Like, Chamber 3 is a fucking joke. But depending on your team, Chamber 2 can actually be really rough. Just because Wenut stalls so much. I think this is the hardest abyss in a while. I mean, that's kind of just Wenut being Wenut. I think that it's just the kind of enemy that makes shit a lot harder. What was the last difficult abyss? 3.7? What was 3.7? I forgot. Triple Herald. Oh yeah, Triple Herald. Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's very fair. But yeah, I don't know. Wenut is just something else. I really think that if you're not playing Hyperbloom on the Wenut side, it just tends to be the hardest enemy in Abyss. First sight is really easy though, so like it's still fine.